Hey, what's up everyone? This is actually my second take of quite a lot of this video. Unfortunately, turns out a lot of the audio didn't record fully, but it is what it is. So at least I have some kind of gist of what I'm actually going to say in regards to my thoughts on these arcs. Because yes, we're going to be doing a video I've been planning on doing for a long time, and this only kind of spurred to my brain because I saw that Roger put out a video literally earlier today. I didn't watch it, but I was like, oh yeah, I meant to do that for 250 subs, and I realized I completely forgot because I was preoccupied by other stuff. So that's what we're doing today. So I hope you enjoy this type of video. I'm going to go through, you know, all my thoughts on these arcs, why they're in these specific tiers, and hopefully you are caught up because I'm going to be mentioning some spoiler stuff because obviously that has influenced my thoughts on these arcs, looking back at them with things that have happened or recalls back to these previous arcs. So yeah, hope you enjoy, and let's start with Romance Dawn. So personally, I really enjoy Romance Dawn. There's a ton of things I really like about it. Luffy being a really good, well-established character from the start, his connection with Zoro, his connection with Shanks, his determination to really just be a good guy without actually even trying to be a good guy. I could see how a lot of his morals have came from Shanks, and personally, I just thought it was really enjoyable. I wouldn't definitely put it in A or S, but I think it's a solid B to start off the list. Next, we're going to move on to Orange Town. Much lower, much lower in my opinion, though it is going to be a bit higher than F because I really like Shushu. I like his motivation. I adore seeing Buggy's introduction because Buggy is such a great character. Nami, really great character. And I don't know, there's just a lot of it that is nice, but personally I would not go back to read it if I had the choice to, unless I'm doing an entire series sort of redux kind of thing. So I would definitely put it in D. Next, we're going to talk about Syrup Village, which unfortunately is going to be our F on this list. Let me just find it once again. There's Kaya. So Syrup Village is a bit of a struggle, I'm not going to lie. Usopp at the start of the story I do not find really enjoyable, even though Usopp is literally one of my top 10 favorite characters in the series. Personally, hearing his intro, how kind of whiny he is, honestly, I feel like some of the few things I do enjoy about the arc is Django. I think he's pretty funny, and I do like the conflict between Usopp and Kuro. I think it's kind of neat, the both liars sort of thing. I think that is a pretty cool concept, but Kuro I'm just not really interested in. Luffy doesn't really have that much of a connection with this antagonist, so personally I would say this is an F. Now, switching to such a high from a low, Baratie, definitive A arc. Absolutely fantastic. I love so many things about this arc. Mihawk showing up, Sanji's backstory. Sanji originally was definitely one of my favorite Straw Hats, if not my favorite Straw Hat, obviously besides Luffy at this point in the story. He was so cool, and there's just so much around him that I thought was fascinating. There's so many other great moments in it, like Gin, Don Krieg versus Luffy. Obviously, Zoro versus Mihawk is the highlight for me. I'm not even a huge Zoro fan. It was sick. The "I'll never lose again" speech, so cool. And just really seeing how much the world opened up from just one single thing, really cool. And we also got to see Nami betray the group, which was a really cool twist in my opinion. I actually didn't see it coming actually at all through, you know, my first read through. So definitely would consider it a top quality arc that is really enjoyable to reread and just easy. It's so easy to reread because there's so much action while also being so many good, nice moments. So definitely A. We're going to continue that with Arlong Park, which I would also consider A, but above Baratie. I'm not going to put it in S tier because there are other arcs I consider S tier. Arlong Park just does not hit that same level for me, though it is absolutely fantastic. I love Arlong as an antagonist. I love Nami's inner turmoil, all the people that Nami has tried to help but are kind of disappointed in her because they wanted her to, you know, just live a normal life. All the people who are trying to stand up against Arlong. So many twists and turns, like Nami not accidentally, but assumingly killing Usopp, Zoro seeing all this and realizing it, the walk to Arlong Park. No, excuse me. The march to Arlong Park. You got to get the terminology right, you know? So many great moments. Obviously, Nami stabbing her tattoo. Luffy putting the hat on Nami. Luffy versus Arlong, such a fantastic fight. I love the set piece of the tower crashing down. Super, super cool. And personally, a really great introduction to how good the villains of One Piece can really become. So, that's it for the East Blue. We have Arlong Park, Ratier, Romance Dawn, Orangetown, and Syrup Village. So now, let's head right into the Grand Line and beyond. And I know I say that's it for the East Blue, but I consider Logtown, obviously, something leading into the Grand Line. So Logtown, I would also put in B. Let me just find it real quick. It is a shame that a lot of these don't really have the names on them, but I couldn't find one with all the arcs that, you know, didn't have the names on them. Here we go. Logtown, for being so short and it's just concise. There's so many fantastic things in this arc. Dragon's introduction, Smoker's introduction, Zoro doing the sword kind of thing where he's about to slice his arm off with the cursed sword. Super sick. Luffy's execution. Super sick. Tashigi and Zoro's kind of clash. I thought that was really cool. Buggy's return. Alvida's return. There's so many great moments of comedy, action, reveals, and just the grandiose nature of it all where the massive storm is coming. It's so cool in my opinion. I wouldn't put it above Romance Dawn, but definitely a lot of quality stuff. So B for sure. Next is Reverse Mountain, which is going to be another B tier arc. I really enjoy it because ever since the start I had such a soft spot for Laboon, and obviously due to events later on, this just became even stronger. So originally I was thinking of putting it C tier because it just wasn't that in itself that good, but thinking about it really, this is the start of the journey because we meet Miss Wednesday, Mr. Nine, introduced to Baroque Works, which leads us to this entire grand adventure, fighting a warlord, seeing all these great new places. They put them on the way to their real adventure, and one of my favorite aspects of it is that Luffy literally says, oh, if we don't like it, we could just go around again. So cool. There's just so much neat things in it. The connection to Roger, obviously Brook, we'll get into that later. Laboon, so many crazy stuff. So I would definitely consider it a B tier arc. Next, we are kind of at a bit of a lull. I'm not gonna lie. We have Whiskey Peak. Now, originally I really did not really care for Whiskey Peak, but on the reread and rewatch, it's so enjoyable. I think it's really cool, and seeing Zoro just be an absolute menace and take it down almost an entire village of assassins was so cool. The reveal of the cactuses actually being these sort of massive rocks with graves on them was super sick in my opinion. I definitely did not expect that, but it was so subtle yet so cool. I honestly wasn't a big Zoro fan, and no, it's not because I was a Sanji fan. I just didn't really feel Zoro at this point in the story. He was cool, but he wasn't really, you know, something I was really looking forward to as much as Sanji or Luffy, but that definitely will change later on. So I would consider this, and one thing I also really didn't like was the Luffy versus Zoro thing. I felt it was rather forced, but the end shot where they both team up to take down Miss Valentine and Mr. Five was really cool. And obviously the reveal of Vivi, fantastic, and the sort of roping in that the Straw Hats have into Crocodile and Baroque Works, really cool. So with that, I'm going to put it in C tier because I definitely think it deserves it. And right after Little Garden, I'm also going to put in C tier because I feel as though Little Garden definitely has some great moments, like Usopp learning about Elbaf, him getting a real motivation to be a brave warrior of the sea, like the Giants, seeing the Giants rivalry basically directly transmit to Zoro and Sanji's rivalry, seeing Mr. 3, who I thought was a pretty cool villain at the time, Miss Golden Week, who had a really cool power and fun design, and Mr. 2 was introduced, a god tier character of the One Piece verse. There's just a lot of quality stuff, I would say, in this arc, so I would definitely consider it C tier as well. Next, though, we are going to go to another pretty solid arc. I'm going to say Drum Island is definitely high B tier. Now, this definitely has to do with my sort of bias. Personally, I feel as though Chopper isn't my favorite. He's never really been one of my favorite members of the crew, but his flashback was absolutely incredible. I really, really enjoyed it. Dr. Hiriluk is an absolute legend of the One Piece world with some of the best quotes in the series. Just absolutely phenomenal. I love the winter setting. I love Luffy climbing up the mountain. I love all the subtleties of the arc, like Blackbeard's introduction, which is just mentioned in dialogue. So cool. I really like Dalton as a character. He's very simple, but I actually like him quite a bit for being sort of a brave sort of protector of the island. I think Wapple's a not interesting villain at this point, but he has actually been getting more intriguing in my opinion, especially with the Reverie, which we'll obviously talk about later. But due to this, I definitely consider it a B tier arc, really solid overall. And then we're gonna have our first S tier arc, Alabasta. So much of this arc is just really, really well executed. The comedy, the fight, the emotional core, the sort of cool factor of it all, the world building especially, fantastic. So many great things happen. I love the dynamic with Luffy and Crocodile. I love Vivi's determination to save her kingdom. I love the mystery surrounding Miss All Sunday and the Poneglyphs and Pluton. There's just so much here to enjoy, and I think a lot of the fights that the Straw Hats get are really great. Usopp and Chopper versus Mr. Four, Miss Merry Christmas, really cool fight. Usopp being really determined to say Luffy will be the Pirate King. Actually, besides Zoro, the first member of the crew to say it. Nami versus Miss Doublefinger. I know some people don't like, but I actually really enjoy it. I think especially Miss Doublefinger has a really cool power. I really like Mr. 2 and Sanji, so seeing them two fight was really, really cool. And Zoro versus Mr. 1 is just, it's just awe-striking. You know what I mean? It has that moment of grandiose nature to it, and I think it's really cool. So with that, definitively an S tier arc. Definitely my favorite arc in One Piece at this point in the story. Now, finished 2 whole sagas. We are now a grand percentage into the story, but we're gonna keep going from here. Obviously, we're gonna go to Jaya, which I would say is an A tier arc. It's super solid. I love the contrast between Luffy and Bellamy. I love Blackbeard's introduction. Oh my god. I just realized I skipped over some things in Alabasta. We'll get right back to Jaya, but Alabasta also introduces Ace and Smoker returning and Tashigi returning. That was also super cool. I just completely forgot I forgot to mention that. But yeah, that's another reason why it's so great. Anyway, now on to why Jaya is so great. So we get introduced to all these awesome characters like Doflamingo, Kuma, Blackbeard. It's just so neat. Now we get to see all these. The world is opening up to us at this point in the story. We were kind of closed off, and the only introduction was Mihawk and Crocodile, but now we are bursting through because Luffy is getting a lot more influential at this point in the story. But besides that, we get the motivation of Cricket and the dreams that one is meant to follow, and that's basically what the story is about. So I feel as though having this sort of be a sidetrack was pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. And seeing the Straw Hats go on this basically impossible journey with a lot of build-up was really, really fascinating, which is why this, as well as Skypiea, are going to be an A tier. Now, I did put Skypiea and not an S tier, but I'll explain why. Personally, I really, really did enjoy Skypiea, but there are just some things that I feel as though are done better in other arcs. So, I just want to say that first off. Though, I do find Skypiea absolutely fantastic. I personally really love Enel. I love Wiper. I love the world building that goes into the White Sea and Skypiea. Super neat. And I actually really like Ganfall and sort of all the new technology, especially the waiver. So cool. Now, I'm going to get into some spoilery stuff, but obviously Skypiea's re-importance into the story was super, super great. And personally, one of my favorite flashbacks in the whole series, the Nolan's Calgara flashback, is in this arc. So, just a ton to enjoy from Skypiea. But the main reason it's not all the way up with Alabasta is because I feel like a lot of the sort of beginning and middle sections are a bit slow and not as easy to reread, especially stuff like the one guy, one of Enel's minions, who just makes like balls of clouds. So like stuff like that, there's a lot of kind of weird moments like that, but there's a lot of great moments as well, so that's why it's A tier. Oh my god. Anyway, now we're gonna move to Long Ring Long Land. So we're moving on from the Skypiea saga into the Water 7 saga, which is gonna be peak. It's gonna be peak, I'm not gonna lie. But Long Ring Long Land, I definitely have slightly enjoyed it more over time because there's just cool moments in it. Obviously, Aokiji's introduction was fantastic. He's such a great character, and I'm really happy to see his introduction after such a comedy-focused arc. The stark contrast of Aokiji showing up and Robin being just mortified was super, super sick. Absolutely. But another thing that I loved was, honestly, some of the moments were pretty cool. Afro Luffy with Usopp as the manager was really, really funny and kind of intense, honestly, in a weird way. I really like Zoro and Sanji working together, and Foxy, I didn't really like him that much. I liked him more than Wapol at this point in the story, for sure, because he had a weird kind of gimmick, and I don't know, the dynamic of his crew was just very wacky and interesting, kind of like Buggy's, I'm not gonna lie. So with that, I'm definitely not putting it in F, but I'm gonna put it in D, because there's just a lot of fun variety in it. In the anime though, holy crap, I've seen how long that is, and I would probably put it much below Surf Village if possible. Now, we're getting to a peak point in One Piece, so we're going to get a lot of quality at this point. So we're putting Water 7 straight to the top of S. This is personally one of the best arcs in One Piece. Just, I love the mystery, the setting, the amount of weird turns and twists that just kept piling one on top of the other. It was just so interesting to see. And one of my favorite aspects of it is, even though I didn't know much about One Piece, I think what I expected the most was that many people just tend to join the crew when these sort of things happen. I remember being personally a bit shocked that Whitebeard didn't join the crew, because, you know, that's what I expected. But seeing all these candidates for joining the crew, specifically, I remember thinking Paulie was going to join the crew quite a bit because I thought he was cool. He had the ropes. He was pretty neat, you know? And he had a lot of motivation to want to stop CP0. Speaking of, oh, not CP0, that's later, CP9. But yeah, trying to stop Cypher Pole, it was just so cool. That twist was fantastic. Robin being kind of led astray by them in order to save the Straw Hats. And obviously, the best fight in all of One Piece, Luffy vs. Usopp. Oh my god. Absolutely fantastic. The amount of drama in it, and the fact that the arc ends in this inspiration where we have to save Robin and go to Eni's lobby. Super, super sick. Now, straight into Eni's lobby. Oh my god, it's another S tier arc. Again, fantastic. I do think a lot of the stuff in Eni's lobby does have some kind of slowness, I'm not gonna lie, but I do think the highs of it are absolutely insane. It has my favorite flashback in the whole series, which is the Robin flashback. It definitely, honestly, it's not in, it definitely, it did make me want to watch the anime. That was the first moment where I was like, man, I need to see that, which was the I Want to Live scene, the flashback. Absolutely stellar stuff. And personally, it was just, there's so many great moments. The fights are all pretty unique and fun while being menacing at the same time. Luffy vs. Lucci is pretty cool. I do think Luffy gets better fights later on, and he already did with Usopp, but Lucci was a pretty menacing antagonist, and seeing the kind of origin behind him was pretty cool as well. And really learning about what the world government is pretty crazy, and it's just really interesting to see how big the world really was. And we get to learn more about that after the arc. But obviously, talk about the end of Enies Lobby as well. The Mary returning to save the crew. Absolutely fantastic way to end it, where the whole entire saga basically started with fixing the Mary. Then the Mary saved the crew. Really, really cool. Usopp and Sogeking, fantastic. Usopp screaming to Luffy that he needs to make sure he saves everyone because he's not even dead yet, so why is he thinking he failed? So many great moments, and I don't know. This saga of One Piece is just addictive to watch and read, in my opinion. There's just so many intrigue. There's so much intrigue. Yeah, literally, like, it's hard to not get interested, I would say, in this section of the story. And going along with this, I am going to put post Enies Lobby at A. Probably below Jaya Skypiea combo, but definitely high up there. I think the introduction of Garp was insane. Learning that that guy from Logtown was Dragon, insane. Seeing Kobe again, insane. Learning the new world, the Yonko. Seeing Aokiji and Robin talk once again about especially how he's happy she found people who care for her, which was such a good ribbon to tie on the flashback, seeing his involvement. Also, back to that flashback real quick, the fact that Sakazuki is shown in that flashback, so cool. After rereading that for the first time, I was like, wait, are you kidding me? That moment of sort of disbelief, like, that guy was that guy? Super cool. And I don't know, post Enies Lobby obviously does not hit the same as Water 7 and Enies Lobby, but there's so many good moments, specifically like Frankie joining the crew, the Sunny being in the story. There's so many great moments, and I just really, really enjoy basically this whole saga. Really, really well done. Now, after this, and the introduction of the Yonko, we get an arc which focuses and highlighting many aspects of the New World and the Yonko, which is Thriller Bark. And personally, Thriller Bark, I was not a huge fan of, because at this point, like I said, I had started watching the anime. I started watching it with my friend, because basically after seeing I Want to Live, I'm like, I need to start watching this animated. There's probably so many things I'm missing out on. So we decided to start watching the anime. And honestly, maybe for this arc, it wasn't the best call, because I personally expected, you know, things to keep ramping up, and Thriller Bark was sort of a sidetrack, which definitely was necessary, especially considering the arcs that come up after. But I thought it was really cool to see. I really do like monsters and horror-esque things, so it was cool to see an arc focusing on that. Plus, there were so many genuinely really great moments, like Kuma showing up, just the nothing happened moment. I really loved the Usopp Perona fight. I really, really love Brook's flashback. It's just kind of crazy how good that was for no reason. But there are a lot of missteps, I would say, in this arc. I really didn't care for Moria. I've started to like him more, I'm not going to lie, but at this point I really didn't care. I really did not like the lion guy who could turn into Absalom, that's his name. I thought that was kind of lame. That's kind of the moment where Sanji started kind of getting less cool, in my opinion, and more weird and annoying. But there's some other cool stuff as well. The whole intro section of it I felt was so fascinating, having the crew kind of split up with Nami, Usopp, and Chopper going there first to get scared, and then the rest of them coming in later like, oh, that's neat. Thought that was really, really fun. And obviously we get a ton of foreshadowing to Whole Cake Island with Lola, and Wano with Ryuma, which again, another fantastic fight. So Thriller Bark I would definitely put at the top of C tier. Especially thinking back on it, there's just so many neat things that were foreshadowed in it, so I just wanted to highlight that first. Now, after Thriller Bark, we get Sabaody Archipelago, and it is fantastic. It's another S tier arc. Alabasta is just going to keep getting lower and lower, and I'm sorry, but it is so good. But these other arcs are just unreal. Sabaody is so good. I love so many aspects of it. The supernova are so fascinating. The celestial dragons. Now this is what I expected to watch animated. The Celestial Dragon Punch. Now, I have a story about that specific moment. I was watching it, and me and my friend, I watched this with a friend. We basically stayed up all night watching this arc, and I remember when we got to the episode in the slave house where Luffy is trying to sort of stop Charlos from attacking Hachi, and that punch lands. I very loudly screamed, "Oh my god," or something like that. I don't remember exactly. It was like, "Yo," or something like that. You know what I mean? And it was so cool. I really wish that was definitely one of the moments in One Piece. I feel if I could re-experience that, it would have been fantastic. And another thing is the entire end of Sabaody was unreal. Just seeing the crew go one by one, seeing their flashbacks, and then seeing them disappear. It was so tragic. It really definitely is something that kind of shakes me rewatching or rereading. It's just really well done. And obviously the introduction of Rayleigh, the introduction of so many other cool world building things, and especially since we're going to be heading to the new world, assumedly after this arc, there's so much potential for what's to come next, and seeing that all get dashed away is so tragic but so cool. So with that, definitely an S tier. Now we get another bit of a lull, I'm not gonna lie. Even though we do get introduced to the legend Boa Hancock, it feels as though this arc personally is a bit low for me, because after rereading it, I definitely do enjoy it, obviously, but I feel as though there are just some things that don't really allow for the story to be as interesting. I did really think Marguerite was going to join the crew, I'm not even going to lie, because I felt as though she was just really brimming with sort of potential. She was also an archer, which was not in the crew, and I assume that's something that's not in it, a new kind of fighting style, you know? And she was cool. Well, she wasn't really cool, but she was nice to Luffy, and they kind of had a bond growing. And I thought, that's neat. So I thought maybe she could join the crew, or at least be an ally of some kind. But no, Boa Hancock was the ally, which definitely was better, especially because her character is just so much more endearing in my opinion. But there's just cool things. I did really like the kind of focus on hockey in this arc. I definitely felt like it was necessary for things that Oda was planning on doing later on, especially in Marineford, obviously. And it was really cool to see all the players kind of get set up along this point, seeing a newspaper that Ace is gonna get, you know, executed, and all this crazy stuff is going down. And Luffy's like, you know what? Sorry guys, we're gonna save Ace instead. Bit of a sidetrack, but my journey doesn't need to go if my brother's is gonna end. Super sick. So I would definitely put Amazon Lily in C tier. I'm thinking if I'm gonna put it above or below Thriller Bark, but personally I think definitely below, because I don't think Amazon Lily has a moment that could compare to a nothing happened moment. Now, Impel Down. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Impel Down, another fantastic arc, and it's just this is the arc. This is another arc that had me very emotional. So we're gonna already put it in S tier. Basically, if I can remember like moments where I'm like, oh my god, it'll probably be up there. So Impel Down is so good because we get to see all these characters that are new and cool, or old and cool, and come back, and it kind of becomes this ragtag group. And I don't know why, but thinking about the idea that Luffy can just bring all these people together, even people who kind of like hate him, it's just so fascinating. I think his charisma is so subtle and well done. Yeah, it's just perfect. So many characters get reintroduced in the story, and I love them even more because of it. Like Buggy and Mr. 3. Never would have expected to like them as much as I do now if it wasn't for this arc. It's just fantastic. So many great characters are introduced. Jinbei, one of my favorite characters in the series, is introduced here. Ivankov, who I think is actually really cool, is introduced here as well. But my definitive highlight, obviously, is the reintroduction of Mr. 2. And this arc alone is the main reason why he's undisputably one of the legends of the One Piece world. His ending is so cool, and it's just, I remember watching that and I was like, man, I don't know if I could watch the show anymore. I was like physically distraught at his sacrifice. I'm not even gonna lie. But obviously he's still kicking, which is good, but sometimes I think, is that really good? Should he have went out like a champ? And it has me thinking, if, you know, that he ever does come back, hope he joins the crew. Please join the crew. I wanted him to join the crew a lot. But we got another goated crew member from this arc, so you know what? At least something happened. And with that, we're moving on to the end of the Summer War Saga. Well, actually, no, because the post-war is in this as well. So we're moving on to the climax of the Summer War Saga, Marineford, which is another S tier arc. It is so sick. So many characters. I can't go into this much depth with Marineford because it will literally take like 20 minutes plus. But fantastic characters. Whitebeard, an absolute legend of the One Piece world, really had me so interested in his character after being mostly uninterested in his character, because we knew he was the same level as Shanks, but he wasn't really any character we knew about. He was just, oh, that guy, he's important. But seeing his determination to be a family and have all these sons he cares so much about, make sure they're all safe, seeing a legend of the past sort of go out in a blaze of glory, super cool. And having him sort of be this inspiring figure for not just, you know, the world kind of die out, but honestly, I feel as though in so little time, he's become this absolute legend. And the thing I think I like the most about Marineford is that Luffy is so out of his element. He's just a kid in this battleground of large-scale warriors and legends. And it's just really interesting to see this kind of perspective, because he keeps trying and trying. And even though that happens, it just keeps going. He keeps persevering. And there's so many great moments, obviously. Tons of the admirals gets fights. Oh my god, there's so many things I've forgotten about in this tier list. But I mean, all these arcs are in S tier. But let's just go over them briefly. Kizaru showing up in Sabaody. That was awesome. Blackbeard showing up in Impel Down. That was super awesome. I absolutely love that. And Luffy and Blackbeard sort of fight. Magellan, who is literally on the square and I didn't even talk about. He's awesome. And he's so threatening too. He's so intimidating and menacing and cool. Man, there's a lot of things I skip out on, but at least you understand why. There's just so much to talk about in these arcs. Marineford, there's just so much cool things. I love the amount of sort of action going on. Even though, like, the Whitebeard pirates are characters I don't really care about, I got so invested so fast, because it feels as though Luffy is literally an afterthought in this war, because he literally is. Because this isn't a war between Luffy and the world government or the Marines. It's the Whitebeard pirates versus the Marines, and they are so intimidating and cool, and it feels like such a grand presence, and it's just exhilarating. It's really exhilarating to see. And it's just, there's so many great moments, like Ivankov and Kuma and Mihawk and Buggy and Luffy, the Buggy and Whitebeard scenes, just Crocodile, Doflamingo. Oh my god, Jinbei being a legend, saving Luffy again and again just because he respects him. And I love that little scene where we get of Ace like asking Jinbei if he could take care of him, him being Luffy obviously, and Jinbei says, I only take care of people I respect. And then right after we see Jinbei kind of taking care of Luffy, and it's just, it's great. It's so great, and I can't really express in enough detail why in such a short time, because I obviously want to focus on some other arcs as well. But wow, super fantastic stuff. Absolute S tier. Now we got the post-war stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, this is not in an A range. It's definitely B, but man, it was good. Oh my god, it's not gonna be above Drum Island, but It was really good. Seeing all the inspiration as to why Luffy is the way he is really, and how Ace is the way he is, was really, really cool. I grew to really like the Dawn through this arc, and seeing her sadness towards Garp and rage was so depressing. And that single line, I remember that one line, if you think if you think I'm feeling bad, the one who feels the worst is Luffy. That hit so hard. And Luffy obviously saying, I'm not weak, I'm still so weak. It was crazy. And Luffy being this desperate, sad person, it was just really, really kind of tragic to see. But Jinbei bringing him back to reality with, those who are gone, focus on what you still have. Just, it's so powerful. Like, personally, it really does hit quite a lot. You know, honestly, I know I said it wouldn't be A, it's A. For now, again, I seeing how many are in S tier, I think we're gonna have to do some rearranging, at least at some point in this list. So, you know, let's see. Anyway, post-war, super good. Super, super good. I just, you know. Whew. There's just a lot. Though, I will get into a point now before I get into it later. Sabo was a good idea. A really cool idea for this past thing. Though, I think his reintegration into the story is a bit worrisome at some points. He kind of is reminding me of Ace too much, where it feels as though the Ace route is going to be sort of redone, a retread essentially. I really hope that does not happen. But back to the post-war. Seeing Dragon, Kuma, Ivankov sort of save all these people, save Sabo, seeing the real disdain for the Celestial Dragons come out. Sabo's "I wish I wasn't born a noble" speech, super cool. Lots of great moments. Ace, as a kid, just weeping and weeping for his friend who was killed. It's just tragic. It's really tragic to see. And seeing all this inspiration behind the reasons Luffy is the way he is, really cool. So honestly, it is, yeah, I'm gonna have to rearrange this list. Here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna move Alabasta to A, move post-war to B, we're gonna move Baratier to B, and no, this feels better as we're going along. Yeah, this feels better. This feels better in my opinion. If we need to alter it more, we'll do that. But here's where I'm at now. Now with this edited list, Return to Sabaody is not really an arc I care about that much, I'm not gonna lie. It's like a cute sort of they're back arc, which is obviously that's the intent. But you know, I just didn't really care that much. I feel like Tomorrow Black was really, it was funny, I'm not even gonna lie. Tomorrow Black and Caribou, they were weird villains, but I didn't really care about them that much because we knew the Straw Hats, they would be on their way to Fishman Island. Though one of the best scenes in this arc, without a doubt, is Kuma actually being there due to Vegapunk allowing his sort of last instructions to be protect the Sunny. Super cool. Realizing that Kuma was in the Revolutionary Army, super cool. Kuma is awesome. I really like Kuma. So we're gonna put Return to Sabaody at the top of D, and then Fishman Island we're gonna put at the top of C. Now, no, we're not. We're gonna put it at the bottom of C, but that is because Fishman Island, I feel like, definitely gets a lot of slander for very, very, very obvious reasons. Hody Jones is not cool. He's not cool. He's not a good villain. But as you can see, the dude in the square, the absolute legend, Fisher Tiger, is there. And we have one of the best flashbacks in the entire series. We get to really get into Jinbei's character, even Arlong's character, who I didn't expect to be relevant ever again, is super relevant, and it's awesome. And I love this Nami Jinbei kind of moment of sorrowness. I don't know, sorrowful kind of apology. And it's so cool. It feels so human and vulnerable, and it's just really, really endearing to Jinbei's character. And there's so many other good characters as well. Shirahoshi isn't the best, but I do think she's at least a little bit endearing. She's really trying her best to make sure her kingdom is safe, but she's so naive and innocent that she's just trying her best. And she obviously is able to do this with the help of Poseidon, but seeing her kind of grow into a more mature person due to Luffy is pretty cool. And I feel like it definitely gets more in tune with later arcs, which is obviously with Momonosuke, but it definitely was a good idea to do this now. I also feel as though, obviously Vanderdecken's also trash. I was going to bring him up as well with Hody, but I forgot. That's how trash he is. There's also Odahime, who is another great character. Seeing King Neptune for the first time, he's a Chad, I'm not gonna lie. But another great moment in it, which I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, is the Big Mom stuff. I really like the Big Mom stuff. I love the Jinbei blood transfusion scene. And I love the Fisher Tiger flashback. He's such a Chad. Koala, it's so endearing to see these people sort of turn around on fishmen and realize they're not that bad, but it's so tragic to see that Hody is so stuck in his ways. He's actively trying to not vie for equality. It's just tragic to see. I could talk about this arc for a while as well, I'm not gonna lie, because many people dismiss it and call it uninteresting. But in my opinion, even though the fights are trash, that's not really what I'm into One Piece for. Like, I don't know. I feel like the world building, especially in Fishman Island, is really well done. Like Joy Boy and so many of the other things, like that one other poneglyph that was there. Why is it gone? We still don't know. It's just there's so much. There's so much. And it's so neat to see. Charlie with the prophecy that Luffy is going to destroy all of Fishman Island. It still hasn't happened, and it's so interesting. And it's just like, how? Otis always sets up so many puzzle pieces that are just fascinating to see how they turn out. And before I get into it, the Big Mom stuff, as I said, really cool. Big Mom's introduction, super menacing, and I actually really like this scene where Caribou is trying to attack Peckhams. Caribou is a Logia swamp user, for those of you who don't know, just from instant name, and Peckhams just takes him out instantly, saying, "In the new world, you Logia users are nothing unless you develop hockey," or something like that. And he just one-shots him, essentially. And it felt so cool. I'm not gonna lie. It was really a wake-up call. Like, the new world is a different place. And they weren't even in the new world yet. So, with that, I'm definitely gonna say Fishman Island is C tier. Now, Punk Hazard, right after Fishman Island, the first new world arc, I'm gonna put right below Fishman Island. Now, I know this is a hot take, but personally, I think Punk Hazard is also rather, in my opinion. There are a lot of cool moments, obviously, the reintroduction of Law, Doflamingo, Kuzan, Smoker, and I know I just named characters and said moments, but like literally, all those characters have so many cool moments in the arc. Nami trying to defend the children. Oh, personally, there was one moment that made me really sad while watching this. It was when that one girl, I'm pretty certain her name is Mocha. If not, that's a shame. But I'm pretty certain that's her name. When she eats all the candy that makes the kids crazy right in front of them, and she's like willing to poison herself, essentially, and do all that just to make sure her friends are safe and not getting as addicted to this drug that's gonna like kill them and make them go crazy. I thought that was really admirable and cool. Very unexpected as well. And it was just, there's just a lot of cool moments in Punk Hazard that I feel aren't as talked about. Like the world building, I loved the concept of the island so much. I think Caesar's connection with Vegapunk is really interesting. He is not an interesting villain in my opinion, but he's interesting, but not as a villain. He's an interesting character in the world. That's more so what I'm getting at. He's essentially the Yonko's version of Vegapunk. We're sort of using him to get all this stuff. And the more we learn about Punk Hazard, the more relation we see it has to the Yonko and the SAD and all that stuff. Really, really fascinating. And it's just so neat to see. So, personally, there are things in Punk Hazard I do enjoy, but there's a lot that I don't. Like the Yeti Cool Brothers, the lack of real intrigue, in my opinion, in a lot of this arc. The body switching thing I really didn't care about either. The sort of generic setting that doesn't really vary itself that much. Many arcs, even in C tier, have a really unique setting. Fishman Island is absolutely gorgeous. Thriller Bark is absolutely gorgeous. And Reverse Mountain, although it is simple, I do think the concept of the massive whale and the mountain is pretty cool. And the weird world inside of Laboon, I think it's pretty cool. But, I don't know. Punk Hazard, for all the potential it has for the half lava, half ice place, it essentially was just in the factory for a lot of it, which was a bit disappointing. So, I'm going to put it C tier. Now, we are now reaching modern One Piece era. We're now reaching modern One Piece era. So, essentially, we have the Mega Sagas beginning. The Mega Arcs. Well, this is all one saga, the Yonko saga, but the Mega Arcs are beginning. So now, we're going to get a bit more long-winded in my reasonings, but hopefully it makes sense. So we're going to go into Dressrosa. Dressrosa is very, very odd, in my opinion. There are so many things I enjoy about Dressrosa. I love Doflamingo as a villain. Law is a really cool character, but there's just some things I find a bit hard to deal with. I watched Dressrosa. We'll say this now. All these I have watched, except Wano, which I've been reading for a bit. So that explains sort of my alternate opinions. So, Doflamingo, really, really fascinating. Love his backstory. Law, really, really fascinating. Love his backstory. Kyros, really fascinating. Love his backstory. Not really, really, but really. I just think Kyros is a really cool character that does not get talked about enough in admirable reasonings. I think he's cool. Many people don't bring up that he is cool. He's cool. But there are many other characters in this arc that feel as though they are overblown. Like, I know many people talk about this. There's a ton of characters in it. If you want a good example, watch that Grand Line review video on the Dressrosa documentary thing. Pretty neat, but he talks about how many characters are really in the arc, and it's kind of crazy to see. But out of all the characters, there are so many good ones that are introduced fully in this arc. Doflamingo finally gets his chance in the spotlight after all this time, and he is fantastic. Fujitora is a fantastic character. Law gets some really great moments. Kyros, as I mentioned previously, one of my favorite characters in One Piece, Bartolomeo, is introduced, and I love him. He's absolutely great. Even though he's just a fanboy, he's great. Now, I do think a lot of the beginning of Dressrosa is filled with intrigue and all these unique sort of plot directions that were sent along. But I think the last third is mostly very middling. It just feels as though a lot of it is very sort of slow. Very slow, you know what I mean? Especially because a lot of the Doflamingo family I find really uninteresting. Really, really uninteresting. And they are used to highlight some of the Coliseum fighters, which is a really cool concept. I thought it was pretty neat, I'm not gonna lie. Seeing how this entire massive country is focused on violence and hatred caused by Doflamingo's influence, and really having it be this massive sort of trading thing for Yonko sort of weapons. I thought it was really cool. And there's just so much potential with this arc, like story-wise, character-wise, and everything. Though the last third I felt was rather bloated with the bird cage. There were so many great moments, specifically for Usopp. He gets so many great moments in this arc. And it's just awesome to see. So I'm going to put Dressrosa in A, probably right here above Mm, hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to put Dressrosa right above Post Tenny's Lobby. Now we're going to move to Zoe, which I think is another really solid arc. And one I would definitely consider putting in A tier. There are so many cool things for such a short time. We get so many great moments. Raizo is safe, obviously, is a standout moment in the arc. We get introduced to so many neat concepts. I love the landscape of Zoe. It's so creative and interesting. We get to see Kaido's forces in motion for the first time, and it's really cool. We also get to see Kaido for the first time in this sort of interlude between Dressrosa and Zoe. Really, 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 really cool. I can't express that enough. His intro is so fucking fantastic. It's great. It's really great. And there are just a lot of cool things in it. The world building, seeing how Wano is connected to Zoe, seeing Nekomamushi and Inuarashi, really great characters. Just so many cool, intriguing moments. Obviously, Momo and Luffy with Zunisha, kind of the talking with the voice of all things, figuring out that there's a traitor in the samurai. Really cool. That was actually something I completely skipped over in Punk Hazard, but Kinemon and Momonosuke are introduced. Dressrosa Kanjo's introduced. I really like Kinemon, honestly. He's not like cool, but I do think he's funny. It definitely was the anime that helped me because his voice is so dynamic and interesting compared to every other character. The way he talks, it's just so distinct, and he has a lot of funny moments, especially in Dressrosa with the costumes. I thought that was fun. And I don't know, there's just a lot of there I like in Zoe. The creativity of the landscape. Obviously, my other highlight besides Raizo is saved is Sanji being captured by Capone, of all characters. So neat. I'm going to put Zoe at the bottom of A tier. Definitely an enjoyable arc, for sure. We're on the final 3 mega arcs of the story, and this is going to be a little more in-depth because my experiences with these arcs were very, very sort of, linked, because these were the longest ones. And Dressrosa was obviously very, very samey, but these arcs, I feel, which honestly is kind of ironic for Whole Cake Island, but I feel like these arcs really I connected with a lot because the settings, the amount of characters, the boldness in these arcs were really admirable to me. So I would say personally all these arcs at this point are A or S tier, but where they're going, I don't know. Now, my bias is definitely going to show up. I love Whole Cake Island a lot. I really enjoy Big Mom as a character. I love tons of things in this arc. While I feel like the beginning was a bit, slow, I feel like that was very intentionally done to sort of lure us into thinking that everything is fine and good when obviously it is horrible. I think that fit very well with the theme of the arc, the sort of acting theme, the very sort of theatrics theme of the arc. Everything I feel fit perfectly together. Like it says right at the beginning, a place so sweet you'll never want to leave, but if you do want to leave, you'll have to pay the price. I feel like there's just so many interesting concepts going on here. The ideas of identity in the arc, the focus on Sanji, which I really actually enjoyed, even though at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit, taken aback by his other backstory. It was really impressive. I really thoroughly enjoyed it quite a bit. And there's so much here. Jinbei actually joining the crew for real after leaving Big Mom. Great moment. Big News Morgan's amazing, cool world building character. The just entirety of Luffy vs. Katakuri. So many cool things happen. Making Beige an interesting character, which is something I did not expect to happen. Shifon, another great character. Pudding, great character. Like, I could just list characters I've enjoyed from this arc for quite a while, but I don't want to do that. And just, it is really bold. I really like the boldness of this arc. The ending in basically tragedy. We don't know if Germa's alive, if Jim, well, we know now, but we don't know at this point if who's alive, who's dead. Although there's a ton of mystery in this arc, and that's what I think makes it so fascinating. The amount of sort of alternative methods, alternative ideals. Really, really neat. And there's just so much potential for shock value. I especially thought Pedro's sacrifice was really cool. In the anime especially, seeing him kind of literally fade away, it was really kind of like impressive. And I just love the dessert aesthetic. I thought it was really, really cool. And seeing all the colors and sort of drama in such a fantasy sort of place really made it feel more serious in a weird way. I don't know why, but that's how I interpreted it, at least. I'm definitely going to be reordering these tiers as I did earlier, but this one is S tier, certainly. Next, we got the Reverie, which is an A tier arc. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I thought that the boldness of having all these characters from the 900 plus chapters of One Piece at this point show up was unreal. I thought it was incredibly interesting to see. Something foreshadowed apparently in the Drum Island arc. I remember checking this and I was just like, what? Like all these things sort of coming together, and it gives the time skip even more of a purpose. Super, super cool. And it's just, man, this arc was so daring and just interesting. All the reveals that we still have yet to fully know. It's just the amount of intrigue that this single little bit gives us. It's so fascinating. And now this arc, I'm not gonna lie, watching it was a bit rough. It definitely was longer than I expected it to be, but all the reveals were so satisfying. Shanks going to the Gorosei, and the massive straw hat, Kuma being a slave, Sabo possibly dead, Vivi possibly dead, all these crazy, crazy things. And man, honestly one of my favorites was the Celestial Dragon from the Fisher Tiger Otohime flashback being a good guy. Man, that was fascinating. Super, super cool. And now we have Wano, and I'm gonna have to put Wano S tier. I'm not gonna lie. There's just so much. There's so much in Wano that I've really thoroughly enjoyed, and this is the first arc I've actually been reading weekly, which is definitely a different experience. I'm not gonna lie, but the anticipation and excitement that I have for Wano is so high. There's so many great moments, like Roof Piece and the Odin and Roger flashback, and just the setting being so varied and interesting. Yasu, that was painful. Otoko, painful. The reveal of Kanjuro, Yamato, so many cool things. All the supernova being here, X Drake, the Yonko bounty reveal. So many cool things. And the fact that there's so much outside of the world that is happening that we don't even know about yet is so cool. The anticipation of all these things, the rocks. What could Kaido's flashback be? I'm still waiting, but man, it's so good so far, and I'm very excited to see how it continues to progress. So for the last little bit, I'm going to be rearranging it a bit. Wano will still be at the end of S tier. I don't want to say it's better or worse than any of them at this moment. I do think it is S tier, certainly, unless it goes bad. I don't think it will. I hope it doesn't, but unless it does, you're gonna leave it there at this point though. Now, Whole Cake, I really, really enjoy. So I would say, I'm gonna put it above Impel Down. I'm going to put Sabaody above Enies Lobby. I feel like that's correct. This feels correct for S tier. And the rest, I don't really want to edit that much at this point, but I will do A tier since I feel as though I could do these a bit. Zoe will probably stay here, and I'll put the Reverie. Yeah. Yeah, this feels correct. This feels correct to me. So, this is my list. We have done it. We have finally done this tier list that I've been waiting to do and forgot to do, not gonna lie, for a long time. What are your thoughts on it? Because for me, obviously, this is my thoughts on One Piece, and I'm curious, how much do you agree? I know that some arcs I have a bit lower, people would rank higher or lower. So I'm curious, what is your tier list? What do you think about my tier list? All that. I feel as though I have too many S tiers, and that's something I personally hate doing on tier lists, because there's just, I like my tier list to kind of be like a pyramid where it's the least at the top. But I mean, come on, One Piece has so many good arcs that I feel like it's hard to even do that. I'm not gonna lie. So hopefully you enjoyed. Curious what your thoughts are on One Piece in the arc ranking sort of scenario. Would you put Marineford as the top? For me, it's definitely a struggle, because you know what? We're gonna put Water 7 at the top. It's hard. It's hard to compare. It's really hard. Marineford did have hype moments, but the intrigue of Water 7 was what had me hooked. Marineford, I was never really uninterested, obviously, but the mystery of Water 7 was so fascinating to me. So that's why I'm going to put Water 7 at the top. Marineford, hype-wise, is right there, though. So hopefully that makes some sense. And that's going to be it for me. So hope you enjoyed this video. Would love to see your thoughts down in the comments below. And have a good one.